In this exercise, we're going to place windows into our walls. To do this, we come underneath the Architecture tab and select on the command Window. After picking on Window, we'll see underneath Properties on the Type Selector list, there'll be a picture of the window that by default is going to try to place. The one that shows up here is whatever the last one that would have been placed in the project or the first one to load. If you click where the picture of that window is at, you'll see fixed windows as well as the double hung windows that were loaded into the project. For this example, I'd like to have a double hung window, and I am going to choose the 36 by 48 off of the list. We'll notice under Properties, when we did that our sill height and head height adjusted to be appropriate for this size and this type of window. If we wanted to change this to be something else, we could. For instance, if we wanted this head height to be 6'10" instead, click inside of the comments just so that we're not inside of this box. And you'll see that the sill height automatically adjusted by 2 inches. If we change the sill height to be 3 foot, the head height, when we click inside of comments, will automatically adjust to be the appropriate height. Now, move your mouse over and click right in the middle of this wall, or at least get it close to the middle of the wall. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so we can take a look at it. Here's right in the middle of the wall, and I'm going to click in order to place this window in. Now, something about this window, if I zoom in a little bit tighter, I can see that when I placed it, the glass is on the inside. If your glass is toward the outside, that's fine. That's actually where the glass should be. But when I click to place it, I accidentally clicked in slightly the wrong location, and the glass is toward the inside of the window. To flip the window, I can just click on the window, click on the double arrows that show up then, and now the glass is closer to the outside, which is the general area where the glass should be in relationship to everything else in this wall. We're going to place a couple more windows in, one here and one right here. So activate the window command, keep the same settings that you had before, click the place one, click the place another one, and now we have 2 windows in there going across the top. I'd also like to add in at least a couple windows on our main building down below. In fact, I'd like to add them inside of this room right here. To do that, once again, we're going to activate the window command underneath the Architecture tab. And in this case, I don't want to have a double hung with trim. I want to use a fixed window that's 36 by 72, so a nice large window in this space. I'm not going to change the sill height or head height, but I could at this point. I'm going to move my mouse and then start to place this window here on the inside. Whenever you see these dimensions show up, if the dimension is on the outside of the building like this, traditionally, if we're going to place the window the way that we are, this means that the inside of the window is on the outside of the building. In other words, if you see these temporary dimensions show up there on the outside, it's indicating that the side that the temporary dimensions are on, whenever we're dimensioning to the center of the window, that is the inside of the window. As a result of that, I want the temporary dimensions to be on the inside of the building. So if I move my mouse up, now that the temporary dimensions are on the inside of the building, and I know that those temporary dimensions are on the inside of the window, I know that I have my window facing in the right direction. So click. Once again, make sure those temporary dimensions are on the inside of the window or on the inside of the building, and click again in order to be able to place those windows into the wall. So to place windows into a wall, it's just a matter of selecting on Architecture, picking on Window, picking the appropriate window off of the list, setting your head height and sill height to be appropriate, and then picking the spot along the wall where you want that window to be located. Revit has an interesting trick that allows us to be able to space our windows evenly either on a wall or inside of a space. Here's the trick. I'm going to zoom in on this building in the upper right-hand side of our screen. And I want to space our windows evenly along this wall. Underneath the Annotate tab, we're going to select on the Align dimension. So pick Align. You'll notice it has Wall Centerline as an option. We don't want that. We're going to change this to be Wall Faces instead. And individual references is exactly what we want to have. What we're going to do with this dimension is we're going to pick the outside face of the wall. We're then going to click where the center of the window shows up, click again where the center of the window shows up, and then click on the outside face of the wall. This next part is fairly important. Move your mouse up and then click somewhere out here in space without selecting on anything else. When you do that, you'll have this dimension string coming all the way across and a little EQ with a line going through it. This stands for equal. So when we click on the EQ with a line, it's now equalized the dimensions between this spot and this spot and this spot and this spot. It's the same distance. We can see that if we hit escape a couple times on the keyboard, select on the line that makes up the EQ dimension, and underneath properties, it'll say equality text. Click where it has equality text, select the little down arrow, and then change this to be value. Move your mouse into the drawing area, and you'll now see the spacing between each of these windows. If you just click out here in space, there you'll have your dimension string. If you want to leave that, that's okay. But another thing that you can do is just select on that dimension string and hit the delete key on your keyboard. It's going to give you a warning message. Don't worry too much about this right now. Click on the OK button. What the warning message was saying is that even though the dimension is gone, these windows are going to continue to be equal no matter what happens to our drawing, whatever happens to our building. What this means is if you select on this outer wall here, now look at your keyboard, click the right arrow key. You'll notice if you start tapping on the right arrow key, it's going to nudge that wall over to a different location. But as you nudge that wall over, the window stayed centered along whatever the length of that wall is. Go to the left again, it'll do the same thing. Now, in order to get the wall back in the location that it was at, I'm going to click and hold my mouse button down along the edge, and then let go when it snaps onto that green line, and then click out into space. You'll also notice that the window that was on this wall here actually moved out with it, and it stayed locked when you moved it back in. Now, I want to do the same thing with these windows here. But instead of having those windows be centered or equally spaced along the length of the entire wall, I want them to be evenly spaced inside of this particular room. To do that, we also need to use the align dimension string. Once again, make sure wall faces is picked. Click the interior wall face, and then the interior location, or the center location in this case, of each of the windows, and the interior wall. Then select somewhere out here in space. Find that little EQ sign, click on the EQ, and it will equalize between this spot to this spot to this spot to this spot. Now our windows are centered inside of the room. So to be able to equally space your windows either along the outside of a wall or on the inside of a room, be sure to select on the Annotate command, pick the Align Dimension off of the list, pick each spot you want to dimension to, and then select the little EQ to equally space them between each of those points that you picked. Tagging doors and windows in Revit is one of the fastest things that you can do in the program. I will point out that when you're first dropping the doors and windows in, when you execute that command, and in this case I picked on the architecture command, I'm going to pick on door, that if tag on placement had been highlighted, it would have automatically placed the tags in at each door location as I was dropping them in. But perhaps we didn't want to have that, or maybe we made a copy of the view, the tags just didn't carry over into the copy of the view. If we want to be able to place tags after the fact, we can do that. Underneath the Annotate tab, there's going to be an option called Tag All. Technically, it's Tag All, not Tagged. Highlight Door Tags, come down on the list, hold down the Control key, and select on Window Tags. Now that door tags and window tags are both highlighted, if you select on OK, it will automatically tag every door and window in the project. Now, certain types of doors, such as the regular doors that we placed in, will have a number already associated with it. And the reason is that doors and windows, when they're first inserted in, will automatically have a number usually associated with them. But certain kinds of doors, such as the ones you'll find in your curtain walls, by default usually don't have a door number associated with them. So to give them a door number, you can just click on the door tag, click on the little question mark that shows up down there, and then you can fill in that information. For instance, if this needs to be number 6 or 106, you can type that information in. I can come up here, select on this, click the question mark, type the appropriate information. Another thing that I could do is go into the schedule and change it on the door schedule. It would automatically update here in the bubbles. Also, if I select on the door itself, look over for its mark number over here, and type in whatever number I want it to be. In this case, I'll type in a longer number, such as 109. We can now see that this is door number 109. So as a result of this, if you want to tag your doors and windows, and actually a variety of other objects, quickly on the fly, it's a simple matter of coming up here to the Annotate tab, selecting on Tag All, telling it which objects you want to give a tag to, and then clicking OK, and it'll automatically tag each and every one of them. Then to change the information in the tag, either go into the door schedule and change it there. In this case, this project currently doesn't have a door schedule set up. You can change it by selecting on the door itself and then changing the properties of it over here. Or finally, you can select on the tag, click in the tag, and then manually change it to be the number you want it to be.